Good morning. It's Hannah and Heidi.
Good morning.
How are you guys?
All right. Today we're going to talk a little bit about problem solving and coping with surprises. So, in life, even though we may have made some big plans, there are always things that can come up and then things can go wrong. Part of being a good problem solver is the ability to cope with mistakes or surprises that come up and that happen. So, this is a time to think, regroup, assess our situation, and attempt to get back on track. So today in this lesson, you're going to be given some problem-solving situations, and we're going to ask you to identify some different coping ways with that.
Okay, so we're just going to talk about Murphy's Law. It's not an actual law. It's just kind of like a funny little saying people have, and it's pretty much saying that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So, for example, a jellied piece of bread will always fall jelly side down. Let's see. I just won the lottery, but I lost the lottery ticket. Let's see. We have a couple more, just because they're kind of fun to think about. I mean, fun to think about, of course, when it happens. It's like, of course.
Right. Always happens that way.
Mm-hmm. Whenever I am on time, I always hit the green lights. But whenever I'm running behind, I always hit red lights. Whenever you're in a hurry, it will always be 10 times harder to find your missing shoe. This morning, I could not find my purse for the life of me, and had to wake my boyfriend up and be like, I'm already late. Where?
Mine is matching socks. Mm-hmm. Whenever I'm running behind, I can never find socks.
If you put on clean, fresh socks, you will immediately step in something that's spilled on the floor. Mm-hmm. And a clean shirt attracts the soup of the day. So if you have a nice, clean or new shirt, whatever you're eating, it has to get on it. It's like the law.
Right. I spill constantly. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a few examples of some unpleasant surprises. These are surprises that can happen. So we're going to talk about some different things and how we can react to those unpleasant surprises that happen in life. Okay, the first one that we have is you are showing a video at a party to your friends, and suddenly it shuts off and is jammed inside. So the question is, what could you do in this situation to cope with that problem and get back on track? So, what do you think, Hannah? If you're at a friend's house and you're showing a party, or showing a video to your friends, and it shuts off and then it's jammed inside?
So my solution's always to bang on things. Especially technology. I don't know why. I'm sure there are more graceful ways, but that's how I get things to work.
It always seems to work somehow.
Yeah. Probably not the best way, but probably, so that's what I do. Or maybe if it's really, really broken, then maybe I explain, or maybe I use a phone and pull up the rest of the video on YouTube or whatever.
So you'd still watch it
Try
in
to find
some way.
Yes.
Maybe not that way, but there's always another way to be able to see it. I like that idea. Okay, another question. If you just bought a new pair of shoes, and then you notice that your shoelace is about to break, and it is about to break and is going to be broken off, what do you do in that situation to cope with that problem?
I mean, if you're wearing it, you make do with what you have. Obviously, I don't carry around a spare shoelace. But
I don't, yeah.
But then maybe when I get home, maybe I'll go and find an old pair of shoes that I don't wear anymore, and that probably should just go in the garbage anyways, and I'll take a shoelace off of that.
That's a good idea. Another one. If you planned a huge surprise party for your best friend, huge, everybody said that they were going to come, but only 3 people showed up. This
one's just sad.
Yeah.
I would be so sad if that happened. But even then, you still went out of your way, to do something special for your best friend. I'm sure they still really appreciate it. And even though it's not that big, or whatever, as far as people, I would still be like, hey, like, we're still gonna have a good time. Just kind of push yourself through it and be like, hey, this may not be what I had in mind, but it's still something really awesome I plan to make someone I care about feel special. So I would still try to just make them feel special and have a good day.
That's a good idea. I mean, and I think, like you said, you went through all that work. They're going to truly appreciate that.
Yes. Okay. So your friend promised you that you could use his pickup truck. And at the last minute, he informs you that he let somebody else borrow it. So now you don't have it. What's something you might be able to do to cope with that, Heidi?
For me, I would see if I could find somebody else. Maybe there's somebody else that would have a vehicle that I could help or that I could use. You know, now his pickup is being used. It's busy. I could find somebody else's. Or maybe I have to use a different vehicle. If I can't use a pickup, I might have to use something else.
Okay. Your throat hurts a lot. You want to call in sick to work, but you've missed so much work lately, and you're afraid you'll lose your job.
I think we've all been in that situation. What do you do when you really don't feel well? Well, I think I would definitely talk to my employer, make sure that they do know that I am really feeling sick, and then if I have a really sore throat, I should probably go to the doctor. So if I go to the doctor can always write you a note to let your employer know that maybe you have strep throat, maybe you have something else that you cannot be at work for that situation. But on the flip side, make sure I show up to work when I do feel okay.
Okay. Last one we're going to talk about here is you're running late to get downtown. Suddenly you realize that you are on the wrong bus and you're headed uptown. That totally sounds like something I would do.
Well, first of all, I would have to let the bus driver know that maybe there's a bus stop coming up and I could get off the bus and get on the right bus. But one thing I have to make sure I don't do is get mad at the bus driver. I mean, that was, not their fault, my fault. But I would try to figure, if I know what the bus route is and a new bus to get on, I would have to see if I could get off and get on the right bus to get to the right location. Or, if I'm going somewhere, I can, because I'm running late, right? Yes, I'm running late. So maybe I could let that person know that I got on the wrong bus and tell them I'm just going to be a little bit late, depending on what I'm going to.
There you go.
And stay on that same bus until I get there, maybe.
Yes. Let's see.
Okay.
So things can go wrong unexpectedly. In each case, we have to figure out ways to cope with what's going on and get back on track. Some cases, you may just have to accept what's going on, accept the situation, and just go along with it, make the best out of it. And in others, hopefully you'll be able to find another way to achieve your goal or achieve whatever you're trying to accomplish there. So we're going to talk about and give you guys a couple of examples, and I want you guys to pause and think about this. Maybe talk to your family, talk to your staff. I don't know. I talk to myself a lot. It's how I keep my thoughts straight. So I'm not completely crazy if you see me talking to nobody. But so you could even just kind of run this through with yourself and figure out what might work for you. So the first one we're going to talk about is, why does it seem as though as things go wrong at the worst possible time? Is this really true, or does it just seem that way, like in the moment? So we'll go ahead and give you some time to pause that video and discuss this one for a little bit. All right, number 2, how can you prepare for mistakes to happen? So think ahead, go through all of the things that might go wrong, and how would you prepare for these things? Number 3, when things are beyond your control, how can you use your personality to cope? So I'll give a quick example, but I always just make fun of myself. that usually makes me feel better about the situation. And
To laugh about it. Yep.
let's see, number 4. Do you think people are sympathetic to your situation? So do they feel bad about your situation even when you are in an embarrassing position? And number 5, in situations where you learn to cope with the unexpected, how do you think this could turn into a positive experience? So when things go wrong and you're learning to cope with what happened and how it went wrong, how can you turn it into a positive situation?
Okay, a few things to kind of close up our lesson with you today is the questions that Hannah asked are good things to think about. So when those things do go wrong, make sure that you have a plan. So 3 different things to think about. What possible things do you think could happen and could go wrong in these different situations? Planning ahead, so making sure what would happen in these spots. What if you planned an outdoor event? What are some things that could possibly go wrong with that? Inviting your friends out to dinner without checking the prices on the menu. What do you think could go wrong in that situation? And the last one, what would happen and what could go wrong if you scheduled 2 dates on the same night? You have 2 dates, 2 events, 2 things happening at the exact same time on the same night. All right, so that's a few things for you to kind of think about, coping with different surprises. Anything else you want to add, or?
I don't think so. I think Murphy's Law kind of applies to all of us in certain moments. And, it's not a for sure thing, but it's just kind of a funny thing. Like, oh, that's Murphy's Law.
Happens to me all the time, yes. Always seems to have things go wrong at the worst time possible. So, okay, so make sure you're thinking about things that could happen and how you could cope and handle those different surprises that life throws at us.
Okay, and we'll talk to you later this week, or you'll watch our video next week. So,
All right.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.